So our speaker today is Bob Hill, who I'm sure everyone knows. Bob was a founding member of this congregation and has spoken too many times to count, and we are very pleased to have him speaking again.
Before I start, I would like to say Jane had her other eye, the cataract surgery in her other eye this week, and she ended up with black eyes. And I told the surgeon that he needed to give me a letter to prove that I wasn't guilty of spousal abuse. So anyway, I don't have the letter, so you just have to take my word for it. My talk this morning is a lot about contrast, the contrast of winter to the other seasons. So I wanted to read two things that contrast different lifestyles. Bob Hill's father built a house in 7 years. His kids helped. He laid the bricks and hung the doors at night and drove the nails on Sunday afternoon. At 65, he had a conservative reserve, plenty of physical energy, and a pension at age 65 equal to the average of his best 5 years. Bob Hill's father sired 3 children, taught them to laugh. They swam in the bay and sat in the alley and pondered the why of Tootsie Roll wrappers and sick puppies. At 40, he sold the house, feared for the boys, dreamed for the girls, and looked forward to a pension at age 65 equal to the average of his best 5 years. Bob Hill's father caught lots of fish, cleaned them and froze them in the Amana. On Saturday, he watched the ball games on TV and laughed with Joe Garagiola and drank beer from a Skippy glass. The kids were gone. He slept a lot, dreaming of a pension at age 65 equal to the average of his best 5 years. Bob Hill's father was cheated. He'd grown old while standing in line. And instead of being happy, he just got a check on the 6th or the 7th and is still waiting for whatever it is that is equal to the average of his best 5 years. I want to live in the moment, to be my own person in my instant of this time and space. I don't want to live in the memory of a childhood unfulfilled with the anticipation of an adulthood unfulfilled that only creates a prophecy. I don't want to live in the memory of love gone wrong or have the expectation of love going wrong. That only leaves me empty. I don't want to live in the memory of aloneness or have the fear of more and more isolation. That only leaves me more alone. I don't want to live in the memory of that past war or with the fear of a future war. That only makes more war. I don't want to live in the memory of my past mistakes or have the lingering fear of unworthiness. That only makes me feel more inadequate. I want to live in the moment without all my what ifs and my if onlys. Good morning. My talk this morning is about winter wisdom. Sometimes in the fall, when the air is candy apple crisp and the perennial leaves crunch and pine tags and acorns jumble, I am at peace. After a summer's portion of controlled emotions and closed sinuses, the predatory skies are welcomed. And it seems that as I slowly drink my Mr. Donut coffee, that time will evolve from cloud stuff and blink lights. And it's been over 40 years since I wrote that piece, and it was taken from a poem about the struggles we all experience trying to make sense out of our life's journey. When I recently reread the poem, this opening jumped out at me, and I realized that I am more at peace when the leaves crunch and the mornings are crisp and the nights are cold. Since the beginning of human time, winter has held a special place in our thoughts. Perhaps it's an unrealized place, but nevertheless, it is special. Winter is the gap between harvesting and planting. It's our time of least activity, a time of silent reflecting. We go out a lot less. We see fewer people. We physically do less. We have fewer projects. And if we're lucky, we get to take those long winter naps. At times, we just stand by the window and watch the snow flurry. It is as though time will evolve from cloud stuff and blink lights. Time is just quantified eternity. We mark it with the seasons of our life. It is a time to return to the self. It is a time to sit in silence and reflect. It is that time, as Franz Kafka so eloquently put it, when the cosmic mind whispers to the conscious mind. Spring brings excitement, a new planting season. Summer can get hot and lazy, and then fall brings another busy time. The harvesting, the gathering, and the storing. It is also a time of thanks so that we can see what our hard work has produced. But winter brings a certain wisdom, and indeed it may bring a sense of aloneness. But it's also a time when we can consolidate all of the lessons we have learned throughout the rest of the year. Some of those lessons even become wisdom. During most of the year, we're so busy, we don't have time to listen. And I always think of a wonderful expression my grandmother used to use, particularly when she was scolding me. Don't you know that some people never learn anything with your mouth open? Winter gives us the silence we need to listen not only to ourselves, but to the cosmic whispers. Baba Ram Dass once said, "The quieter you become, the more you can hear." Some people really have trouble just sitting still and being quiet. It's like they feel they have to fill every empty space with yakking. They might even feel guilty for inactivity. However, I think that quiet peacefulness is just as important as a night's sleep. It's a time to recover from the year's work, the time to go inside, to reflect, to listen, and most important, to receive. Perhaps winter gives us our most spiritual time. My personal definition of spirituality is that sense of connectedness to all that was, is, and ever will be. And how could we possibly be connected if the noise level in our life is so loud that we can't hear the whispers? William Blake saw it this way. Quote, "To see the world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wildflower, to hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour." Close quote. For our species, winter used to be a time of great uncertainty. It was uncertain whether we would even survive. Perhaps now it's just that our thoughts that are so uncertain. Things aren't so absolute as we gaze out at ice floats on the Holston or the lingering snow on bare limbs. Winter is that time for more acceptance of our thoughts and our intuitions, rather than challenging all of our thoughts with logic and having so many must-dos and should-dos. The writer Henry Miller wrote, and I quote, "I obey my own instincts and intuitions. I know nothing in advance. I often put down things which I don't understand myself, secure in the knowledge that later they will come clear and meaningful. I have faith in the man who is writing, who is myself, the writer." Close quote. This is kind of the way I wrote this talk. I wanted to say something, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to say or how I wanted to say it. So I just let it flow. Bob Dylan once said at a press conference, "I just write a song and I know it's going to be all right. I don't even know what it's going to say." Close quote. I envy the confidence of people like Miller and Dylan. But I do have the confidence that it's okay to trust winter's wisdom, the silent thoughts unhurried by cold wintry days. I also confess that silence is where I perceive God. If there is such a thing as God for me, it would be God with a little g. I think that little g, God, would live in the gap between our thoughts, the gap between our actions, the gap between our projects, and that gap between planting and harvesting. Let me make a suggestion for you. The next time you're awed by the silent beauty of winter, just let those feelings flow through you. Don't try to understand them. Perhaps soon you'll understand them in a way that is far beyond words. This may take a little practice. I think our cosmic listening skills have been dulled by neglect. After all, verbal language is just the newest stage in our language development. Nature has been speaking to us through vibrations since the very beginning of time. We've only recently added words to the process. From a very ancient writing, I quote, "First was the silence, then was the vibration, then there was matter." St. John said, "First there was the Word, then there was the flesh." Pythagoras said that a stone is but frozen music. A stone is but frozen music. We can communicate with nature in other ways other than words. There's a deep communication in vibration, sight, and silence. Have you ever wondered what the earth feels in winter stillness? Lao Tzu said, "No thought, no action, no movement, total stillness. Only thus can one manifest the true nature and law of things from within and unconscious, and be one with heaven and earth." The Buddhist Dogen said, "Sitting is the gateway of truth to total liberation." Our words are primitive representations of our feeling. It's much like a carved decoy is a representation of a real live duck. So to ponder the actuality of reality, we must perceive it in silence. To sit still in winter silence may be the closest point in our lives we come to true spirituality. The stillness of winter silence gives us an opportunity to tap into that inner life we are so capable of ignoring during our busy times. In a poem about winter by Nancy Wood, a Native American, she writes, "It is our quiet time. We do not speak because our voices are within us. It is our quiet time. We do not walk because the earth is all within us. It is our quiet time. We do not dance because the music has lifted us to the place where the Spirit is. It is our quiet time. We rest with all of nature. We wake when the seven sisters wake, and we greet them in the sky over the opening of our kiva." Silence gives us a chance to see relationships that we might normally overlook. Like Blake pointed out, to see a world in a grain of sand, to hold eternity in the palm of our hand. Winter gives us an opportunity to see the birth-death cycle up close and personal. Winter can be a transformational vortex realized in the silent gap of the pulse of life. Lao Tzu pointed out that clay can be molded into a vessel, but the utility of that vessel lies in the space where there is nothing. Winter is the space where there is nothing, but it is a healing space that adds utility to the other seasons. Winter is not death and destruction, but a void of infinite possibilities, perhaps the womb of creation, a transformational vortex. Alfred Lord Tennyson said that men may rise on stepping stones of their dead selves to higher things. How do we do that? How do we rise above ourselves? Well, perhaps the answer comes from Franz Kafka. Now, this is a man who is certainly not known for his uplifting writings. He spent his entire literary career describing human misery, and yet he said, quote, "You do not need to leave your room. Remain sitting at your table and listen. Do not even listen. Simply wait. Do not even wait. Be quiet and solitary. The world will freely offer itself to you to be unmasked. It has no choice. It will roll in ecstasy at your feet." Close quote. Winter is a time about changing. Chaos to calm, conflict to inner peace, complexity to simplicity, struggle to acceptance, sorrow to peace. I wish you all a warm and contemplative winter. Thank you.